NBS Frontline.
Earlier this week, leader of opposition Joe Senyonyi voiced his criticism of a planned series of regional parliamentary sittings, calling for a boycott of an exercise he believes is just a waste of taxpayers' money.
The first one being in Gulu, then there will be another in Mbarara, Western Uganda, then there will be another in Mbale, in the east, and then another in Central, one of the central districts. So about 5 billion shillings to be spent on each of these sittings. Why? Because all the members of parliament have got to be transported.
Not even Senyonyi himself could have predicted the backlash his proposal would provoke.
Is this justifiable that you get to spend such an amount of money to have a sitting of parliament?
If the leader of the opposition was coming up to say, I don't want to have a budget for donation, because the leader of the opposition also has a budget for donation.
This issue was announced in Parliament of Uganda. When there was a State of Nation address, the Speaker announced it, and we wonder why this kind of passion come at the last minute to say the sitting is useless, it's too expensive, as if it doesn't read the budget of the Parliament of Uganda.
Regional sittings are being planned, and one, we have not been brought on board. We don't know exactly what's happening. I hear that meetings keep sitting of staff and some MPs.
With northern Uganda set to host the first of these regional sittings, legislators from the region were quick to react.
Actually, it is blackmail to you, the voters, that the leader of opposition is interested in saving costs. Even if he talks about 20 billion, that money would actually be spent even if it is sitting here.
When we are talking about wastage of resources, we should not apply the principle of selective memory or selective justice.
But is it really a case of the MPs misunderstanding the leader of opposition's point, or are they turning a critical debate into a tribal issue when it should be about fiscal responsibility?
If the rest of Uganda now say, okay, let's boycott everything and we leave Kampala to be, or we leave another, it is wrong for our country. We don't want to divide this country. Let politics not be a reason for doing that.
Honorable Akol is from northern Uganda. Has he had time to sit and dialogue with them and get to understand what is going on? He has not. And that is leadership. He should do it. Not just hold a press conference and issue your own opinion.
Regional balance, equal opportunities to be given to the nation.
Other proponents of the rotation sittings contend that they can help bridge the gap between parliament and the populace.
The members of the community and the people were all excited because, number one, they wanted to see their members of parliament speaking.
Meet here in parliament and take care of the concerns of the people. And that's why we are bothered.
We will have opportunities to interact with the local masses down there. What an opportunity that parliament has offered. And I urge the opposition to take advantage of this.
Maybe they will be more interested in medicine in Gulu Regional Referral Hospital. They might be more interested in infrastructure being worked on. The same situation for Mbarara, for Mbale, and so on and so on.
Yet the question remains, what's more important, bringing the mechanics of governance closer to the people or investing in essential services? Would people in these regions rather see their MPs debating in front of them, or would they prefer those funds to be spent on building them better schools, hospitals and roads?
And I tell you some of the statements we make here. We open fire against ourselves indirectly. In this house, if we think some of us will go clean others, that it might end up all being,
This is The Frontline.
NBS Frontline.
A very good evening and welcome to this edition of The Frontline. My name is Charles Mangushampagi. Parliament, it has been at the center of the spotlight. It has been actually in the spotlight over the last few months. But now it is taking sittings up country, regional parliamentary sittings, taking the entire House to a particular region in the country and holding sessions there to interact with the voters. Will that cut it? The opposition says it is boycotting those sittings. It says that it's an unnecessary waste of money. But is it actually an unnecessary waste of money? Or is there value to be gained out of that? We'll be discussing that on the front line tonight with, let me start from the extreme end, the Honorable Faith Nakut. She represents Napak district in Parliament. She's a member of the National Resistance Movement. Very nice to have you.
Very nice to have you, to have this engagement.
Ofono Opondo comes from Kapele Byong, and he comes from Kapele Byong, yes. And he is executive director at the Uganda Media Center. He's a member of the Frontline. Very nice to have you.
Thank you, Charles.
Mulanda is beginning to lose.
No. You see, I am on like YKM. He has Ntungamo, Chamate, he has Rwaktura, he has Kisozi, he has Entebbe, he has Nakasero. Some. Yes.
You're a member of Steady Progress now that you have Mulanda and
yes, and Chagwe. Yes, and Chagwe here.
Okay.
So I hope Semuju will allow me to settle in Chazanga. He has migrated to Wakiso. He doesn't talk about Chazanga.
We have to discuss with us this evening the Honorable Christine Kaya. She represents the Kivoga district. She's a woman member of Parliament and is a member of the National Unity Platform. Very nice to have you.
Nice being on this program, and greetings to you all, especially people of Kivoga.
And the Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda represents the people of Kira Municipality, is Shadow Minister for Finance and formerly of the Forum for Democratic Change. I see, I still struggle because I don't know if it's FDC okay. Katonga and FDC the other one.
No, I mean you. It's just FDC.
The moment you get my name right, the rest you can even forget.
Okay. Yeah. Let's start with you, the Honorable Semujunganda. We see a lot of debate around this decision to hold parliamentary sessions outside of Kampala. You plan to have a session in Gulu, you have planned to have a session, I think, in Moroto, in Imbarara, and other places. What is the rationale? What's the thinking?
I am a consumer. The decision for Parliament to host, I don't know whether they are sub-regional or regional sittings, is a decision of the administration of Parliament. In fact, today one of the MPs said there should be a motion to which all of us make a contribution. The explanation that has so far been given is that the intention is to take Parliament to people. My proposal was that if you want to take Parliament to the people, maybe you need to go and hold rallies and take the MPs at a rally. Have a march and you clean a particular area and you return. Because the sitting of Parliament, by its nature, you will not have everybody in Gulu or in Acholi or in the whole of northern Uganda either fit in one area or even follow. The woman MP for Gulu City, the Honorable Betty Aol, told me this week when she came to stand surety to some of our colleagues with whom had been arrested on Monday, that already the inconveniences have started. Security is asking people who do business around Kaunda grounds to relocate. And she told me the trouble is that you're asking people to relocate almost 2 weeks before the sittings themselves. So these people earn their livelihood by operating around Kaunda grounds to provide security, because if you're going to move 530 MPs, actually more because they are ex-officials, assuming they are all going to go. You have about 80 ministers who are also members of Parliament. Even the security requirements, in her own judgment, there's going to be an inconvenience. I followed on our WhatsApp group of shadow cabinet one of the MPs. I will not mention her name because she didn't say, and this is a group that actually people in her area, she comes from Rango, saying instead of you guys come, just send us that money that you're going to use. We will be very happy. So the parliament moving ordinarily, because committees of parliament go up country. I have gone almost to each and every district since I became an MP. That experience is important, that you're going to speak about a hospital you have visited. You're going to speak about a road that you have visited, projects that you have visited. The sitting of parliament does not take you to the people because you will be in one place. You will be in one place, and that place has its own restrictions that are in the law. So the interaction is there. Maybe it's by people looking at you the same way they will look at you when you are sitting in Kampala. The only the debate about money, because there are two things that have troubled me. One is money, and also the group from northern Uganda addressing a press conference and make it look like Parliament is only going to their area, and if Parliament doesn't go, they will be at a loss. Because the announcement is that you're going to go to the 4 regions, at least in the interim. Each quarter, 3 months, you'll be going to one area. So if Parliament doesn't go to Acholi or to northern Uganda, the loss will not be domestic, will not be suffered by people from that area. If there is anything to suffer, it means everywhere else where this seating is planned, they will lose.
We're having this debate at a time when countries pour a lot of money, or, I mean, even towns, these newly created cities.
Yes, I agree, because you see, in our response to the budget, a response that I made on behalf of my colleagues, we looked at money in our own view, we thought, can be saved in the budget. Because you go back to the budget, and if you can allow me a second, you have a budget of 72 trillion shilling. You raise only 31 trillion. The rest is money that you are going to borrow. Even as we came here, Parliament was still processing loans. You have now contracted loans up to almost 100 trillion, more than 52% of your GDP. But specifically, the money for inland travel, each time you see vehicles of government people with red number plates on the road going to wherever they go, a year we spend 750 billion on inland travel, the allowances, and then you spend about 311 billion buying fuel. So you're spending almost about 1 trillion shilling
on travel,
on buying inland, on buying, because usually the obsession is on travel abroad, but we are spending more money on travel inland for useless trips that government people make. Those who want to go and check on their cows in Chiruhura, in Ntungamo, in Liantonde, in Chazanga, the ones you see on the road almost every weekend. The total is that we are spending about 1 trillion shilling every year, and then you are spending about 200 billion on Murago, about the same amount of money on
how much money has been allocated, Honorable Kaya, how much money has been allocated to these regional sittings of Parliament? How much do you intend to spend?
Actually, we are just hearing rumors because we have not yet been exposed to the expenses and budget, but it is estimated to cost 5 billion per regional sitting. And so we feel that is a lot of money at the moment. I understand people have always wanted to innovate new things, bring in new ideas, and probably bring in something that has never been done by Parliament. But this is not the right time. We have a lot of approved practices, approaches that are lying idle, that are on shelves, that we need to implement. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel at the moment when the country is really very poor. At the moment when we have issues like medical interns seeking for our support, at the moment when we have widely spread youth unemployment that just need some simple startup input and capital. At the moment when the traders are up in arms requesting on the reduction of taxes, and they are looking for government incentives which are nowhere to be seen, actually this is not the right time to have it. But then...
So you're not in principle opposed to taking Parliament out of Kampala? Taking sessions out of Kampala?
I'm not in for it.
You're not in for it?
No.
But no, my question is, you're not, in essence, opposed to it if the timing was different?
If the timing was different for Uganda, but at the moment, no. The country is too poor to host such expenses.
How much do you spend on a daily when you're operating in Kampala?
Now, those are the costs I cannot share here.
The budget of Parliament is about 900 billion. So if you divide that by the number of days in a year, so on average you're spending about 3 billion.
3 billion. Yeah. So 5 billion wouldn't make much of a difference, would it?
Oh, still it is, there is a difference. There is a difference. A difference of 2 billion, you want to say is not much. That is a lot of it. But the other issue is that we must be convinced with the mischief that we are resolving. So when you say we are taking Parliament to the people of the northern region, and the north has Lango, has Acholi, has West Nile, and then we are seated in Gulu City, for example. So what approach is going to bring people nearer to us? And now, when they hear that probably Parliament has sat in Gulu, how are they going to interface with us? Because I don't think we are going to tour around hospitals to appreciate the status in which they are. We may not do that. And this is somehow another way of bringing back what has been put in the dusty bins, federal management of issues. Because this is when we are giving regions chance to probably air out their issues. So probably when they sat with the region, they came up with an approach through which Parliament will interface with the people, which we are not informed about. But at the same time, this is a national parliament. When Parliament is near Chiboga people, how do Chiboga people interface with us?
You see no benefit in getting 500 members of Parliament, support staff and others descending on Chiboga, because we're having this conversation at a time when countries, cities bid to host big international events. They make an investment in them, but they expect to reap out of it. You'd boost the Chiboga economy if you took almost 1,000 people there for 3 days, wouldn't you?
You are boosting the economy of the world through the hotel business.
Hotel accommodation, the food you're going to eat, whatever local amenities you're going to enjoy.
No, but that is not a priority now. That is not a priority now of giving us comfort in hotels. That's not the priority. The priority for northern region, the priorities are well elaborated, especially the issues of supplies in hospitals, the agricultural inputs, especially amidst climate change, irrigation technologies and all that.
Honorable Kaya, this is a question I should also put to, somebody didn't raise it, but people asking, you appropriate budget to the relevant government departments and agencies to procure and provide exactly what you're talking about. For medical supplies, you appropriated money and sent it to Ministry of Health, National Medical Stores, the National Drug Authority. They should have money to provide that. So whether you travel and hold a session in Gulu or not, that's not going to put those facilities in the hospitals, will it?
No, it wasn't enough. What we appropriated wasn't enough. And when you listen to staff of medical stores, they have always explained to us that probably would increase on the supplies your district gets. But because they have limited funds, what we appropriate is, for example, for 120,000 people instead of 200,000.
No, I'm trying to establish the link between Parliament using its own budget, sitting in Gulu, and providing medical supplies to a health facility.
Yeah, currently we cannot even switch funds from Parliament to another sector.
Exactly. So
yeah,
what
we
is,
can't.
what
but
is
there are other
the basis of your
mechanisms.
disagreement?
No, we have other mechanisms for spending that money appropriately. I mean, committees need that money to appropriately go, understand the problems of the area, and do justice to a number of observations and come back to us and report. But currently, even committees have limitations. Benchmarking with other countries, currently the amounts available for that are not enough.
That's foreign travel.
So yes, they are not enough. Yeah, for benchmarking, very.
If you could indulge me for a minute, let me go to the Honorable Faith Nakut. Yes. Karamoja is supposed to be hosting one of these sessions. I don't know if you're putting that in Moroto or in a park or somewhere.
No.
Yes.
Karamoja is not hosting this time.
Karamoja is not hosting this year.
Gulu is hosting for 4 sub-regions, for West Nile, Lango, Acholi, and Karamoja.
Okay.
So we will all be going to Gulu. On Monday, I attended a meeting that had been called for by the Speaker of Parliament. Even the staff of Parliament were in the meeting, plus legislators from West Nile, Lango, Acholi, and Karamoja. The reason for the meeting was to understand what we will do in Gulu during the regional sittings. So we agreed on the plan that Parliament had put to have sittings, the 3 days. Parliament had put 2, but we negotiated for 1 extra day to allow for petitions from our people to come. We agreed that there will be motions, reports coming from committees, reports that are tailored for the issues affecting the region, the Ost region. We felt it was a good thing. When we had that engagement,
so
it was
when you say Parliament had decided and we... Huh?
Okay,
so
it was a meeting.
Yes.
It was a meeting. There is administration of Parliament. They were presenting to us the plan, and we, in a meeting, we agreed that we will have 3 days.
Okay.
It was the outcome of the meeting is the 3 days we're talking about: 28th, 29th, and 30th. So, in my view, it is a good thing to take the Parliament to the regions. I have the reasons that have convinced me, especially coming after that meeting, and I will tell you that reason. First of all, taking Parliament to a region assures our people of 3 days uninterrupted attention of the entire government and of you, the media. It means all our problems which you would not ordinarily get to know, you will know them. 3 days uninterrupted attention for only one region is really good. That you cannot get when we are sitting in Kampala. It is a great privilege. And now, the other thing is the committees that are going to present their reports. The committees are already in the field, by the way. They are doing what we call pre-sittings visit to those areas. Committee of Health, Committee of Education, Committee of Defense, Committee of Government Assurance. Committees are in the field. There are some in Karamoja, there are some in West Nile, there are some in Acholi. They are doing their oversight function, and the reports will be presented in Gulu, and we will debate them.
Okay.
The reports of... so that attention is very good for a region like ours. You may ask me whether committees don't do that when we sit in Kampala. Committees do, but committees do sampling. And they will bring a report which is a sample for the country. They can even take a year without going to a particular region, but they will do sampling and they'll bring a report. Now, giving attention to a particular region and get to their issues in detail is a good thing for our country.
Your
It
colleagues
is-
are arguing about the cost of doing that, 5 billion shillings. Nepal and have in the budget.
Today I attended plenary. The presiding officer rebuked that allegation. He said the 5 billion was not the right figure. So I am not comfortable to begin to quote that figure, which was disputed in the House today, and it is on the answered that it is not the figure that Parliament is working on. So where my colleagues in the opposition are getting the statement that it is expensive, when they have not even seen the basis on which, how do you calculate what is expensive and what is not?
Okay. Let me come to you. James Alemi here is saying that Ugandan politicians working for their own selfish interest should resort to using other domestic animals like cats, rabbits, sheep, or even monkeys, etc. to express their political grievances. What is this? No, I think this is an old message that James Alemi had sent. We'll read another message that he sent. The idea that Parliament gets out of Kampala and holds session up country.
Well, first of all, let's go to the law. The Constitution of Uganda gives Parliament administration, particularly the Speaker, in consultation with the President, to designate any part of Uganda for sitting of Parliament. And we have been doing so, moving Parliament out of parliamentary building to Serena, previously Nile Conference, I think for the last 25 years. Recently, as a result of COVID, we have been having Parliament sitting in Kololo. Basing on that, I would find no reasonable legal excuse why Parliament should not sit in Fort Portal or any other part of Uganda. Secondly, there has been arguments. Remember, CA, maybe you were alive at that time. There was a proposal mooted by the Honorable Tiberio Atwoma Okeny. You remember when the Waganda were saying, if you don't give us federal, get out. And they said, why not go out of Kampala? Maybe this could be one way to demonstrate that actually you can shift the administrative center or some aspects of administrative functions, central government, out of Kampala. After all, Kampala is now unlivable. That could be.
Thanks to NRM.
3, I find dishonesty among members of Parliament across the aisle when they say their argument, particularly the one raised by the leader of opposition, cost. I don't think members of Parliament are qualified to dispute, to say they want to save Uganda's money. How come, when have we ever had members of Parliament from the opposition or from the NRM saying, reduce this expenditure because it's wasteful, reduce the amorphous Parliament because it is expensive, it is a drain, reduce the number of sittings of Parliament in a session.
That we do every year of an opponent.
No. You made your point.
Yeah.
I am saying
information. We do that every year.
Can you let him make his point and then
yes.
you link.
A session lasts 1 year. I have not heard members of Parliament saying, instead of sitting 3 days of the week and just coming to take tea and there's no quorum and so on, let us sit for only 1 day, sit express, so that we are paid for only that 1 day. I've not heard. So the excuse of them wanting to save Uganda's money, I think it's not genuine. A rider to that, members of Parliament have been convening to pay tribute to dead bodies. According to Honorable Semuju here, he's working in mathematics. He has said Parliament uses approximately 3 billion, meaning Only recently we had Honorable Lepe, no longer a member of parliament. Parliament was on recess. When he died in a motor accident, they reconvened. So according to Honorable Simujo, approximately 3 billion went.
Even suspended some sittings to go
Yes.
and bury.
Yes. So the question of them seeking to save our money does not arise. It can only be some other excuse. Now, for me, going to Gulu has, yes, we are going through tough time and so on, but it's also the time we can give a hand to a region emerging like Acholi. Take these 200 heads, well paid, among them very well paid, members of parliament per night. I think they will boost, for me, if I look at from local tourism, for example, is a good thing. But also, it is known that not many of these people travel across the country, except when they're on official duties. So I think it is also one element to expose all of them at a go to what the other part of the country is like. The other issue I would probably consider is what else apart from sitting. And that's why I can agree that probably that would take Parliament closer to the people, not just the sitting, the debate. No, because the debate, like Honorable Simujo has said, it has its own legal ramification. Parliament is a protected area, so you are not going to, you don't expect the entire crowd of Gulu in Kaunda. However, if they were intelligent enough, the organizers, the managers of Parliament, you can put aside a series of side events.
Yeah, they are.
For example, if they arrive on the 26th, you say arrive on 26th, you are traveling to Gulu, leave early, probably take the northern route, go to Nwoya, go to Porongo, go through Anaka, go through Amoro, and then end up in Gulu via Aworanga, the area of the late Martina Lake around Lacho. Another group, you get them and say, take Teso route, go through Soroti, go through Dokolo, and through Lira and end up. But also, during the recess, you can have people who go to groups, going to Lacho Hospital, going to Pabo, former displaced, the camp for the displaced person, and see how are they coping.
Okay.
And a number of activities you can actually make. And so for me, you can have an advantage, but Parliament is known for being wasteful, and therefore I don't want members of Parliament from opposition or any other side to say they want to save money.
Okay.
Because when it is really saving money.
So, Ofodo, if we've been wasteful and say now we want to stop, again, you want us to continue?
No, I know you're not genuine.
Let me introduce Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma. Let me introduce Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma. He's a columnist with The Observer and also an academic at Makerere University. But Dr. Serunkuma, just before you make your comment, James Alemi is, I think, has something tongue-in-cheek. He says Parliament should sit in Kampala and the broadcast transmitted live on gigantic screens to their voters. Furthermore, traveling on Ugandan roads like foreign tourists exposes our honorable MPs to avoidable road accidents. If we had regional airports where a bombardier could safely land, I would have no objection. The only positivity is that they will come face to face with reality on issues affecting their voters. James Alemi, an ardent follower of the show. Yes, Dr. Serunkuma.
I mean, Ofono has made two mistakes. You know, it is actually true to accuse MPs on either side of the aisle for being wasteful. So neither of them has the moral right to say the cost is too high. And neither is Ofono Pondo the right person to be making that argument, because it is his government, the one that he speaks for, that cheapened Parliament by overwhelming members of Parliament with money and making them wasteful. So you are a normal right of Honopondo to make that argument either. Because you see, for you, Mr. Museveni understood that the only way you can cheapen people in the opposition is by throwing money at them. So the wastefulness has an origin, and it's deeply rooted in the government that you speak for. Secondly, secondly, you just spelled out a thing that makes Parliament look like a tourist company, giving MPs a tour. For goodness sake, with the amount of money that is available at their disposal, can they offer themselves individual tours across this country, right? The point I want to say is this, Charles, after responding to Ofonopondo, no, I thought you had concluded.
No, he had
You have invited, you said you have dived into it, but let me complete my point.
There used to be a timer here.
Let me complete my point before you gallivant. Honorable Kaya says going to Gulu does not necessarily mean you represent the people. Honorable Kaya, I guess Chiboga could be having maybe 800,000 people. You don't reach each of them individually. However, when you speak in Parliament, even without consulting them individually, you sum up. You sum up the interests of the people of Chiboga. And therefore, in that respect, we don't doubt that you represent the people of Chiboga. Even when not all of them voted for you. So even in this respect, if Parliament goes to Gulu and does not meet everyone in Gulu, or not everyone in Gulu will come to Kaunda, still Parliament, by what it speaks and the resolution it makes, can reflect the interest of the people.
Thank you. Let me go to Dr. Serunkuma. Dr. Serunkuma, what's your own take on this idea that Parliament moves out of Kampala and holds sessions outside?
I have two quick comments. One is it's actually funny in the sense that a couple of months ago, the online activists had a thing called the Parliament exhibition. And I think the MPs took it really seriously. So they've turned Parliament as an exhibition itself. So they're going to exhibit it around the different parts of the country. So you take it here, so that people can see it. And it's ridiculous in that sense, because logically it actually defeats the idea of an MP. Because the entire idea of an MP is to represent your people, which means they sent you from amongst them to represent them at a table where they are never there, right? So what you're telling us that you've been so poor at your job, so you want the entire house to move to them because you've done nothing. What's the entire idea of an MP? In fact, one of the things that really becomes fully demonstrated is that it has been cheapened to the point that it is even willing to extinguish itself. This is the absolute extinction of Parliament, self-extinction, because you see, they've now become what you might call fact-finding committees, like research groups. You know what I mean? So you go, find the facts.
But you see, that's the area you're going in is entirely what Parliament does. Committees of Parliament are not supposed to be armchair committees. Their duty is to go and inspect and then file a report.
That's our job.
There will be no way. The time I have been in Parliament, I have gone to each and every district. You go and visit the regional land offices that people claim have been completed when they are not completed. You go and visit the regional referral hospital because you are processing a loan. So it can be another issue, but you cannot say moving around in itself is a problem.
Charles, let me finish this point.
Yusuf, if you could just conclude that, because I will give you more time once we come out of the break. So,
I mean, the point that Honorable Samji is raising, so if the fact-finding committees have been doing their job, why is it now necessary that you have to go and sit
Isn't there value in that symbolism of saying we've taken Parliament out of Kampala, we are sitting in another part of the country, we are interacting with the local community there, we are giving them access to Parliament closer to where they are. But let's respond to this after a very short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Frontline.
You're still watching the Frontline on NBS TV, and even the members of Parliament here in studio disagree Should they get out of Kampala or and hold sessions in the countryside or not? They're disagreeing even in studio here. I don't know how that will... okay, I have a message here who says, we are as depending, as a country, we are depending enough money on MPs when they sit in Kampala. Yeah, spending money on the MPs when they sit in Kampala, where they have enough facilities to do their job. We shouldn't spend more money for their useless tour. The country is saturated by enough representatives to bring to Parliament closer to the people. That the numbers of members of Parliament are sufficient to represent it and get it closer to the people. Fred here says, MPs should take a back seat for now. Public mood is not pro-Parliament. They should lie low like an envelope. What they do is bound to be looked at as wasteful, done in selfish interest. He says, no matter what you do, it's going to be looked at in that way. That's Fred. Another viewer here, Cuthbert Isingoma, says, this is a good development that will lay foundation for federal government. So the regional sessions are what the federal governments will be doing in future. Yes, Okeroro Collins says, I don't find the excuse of taking Parliament nearer to the people as a good one. If they want to discuss regional issues, why not designate given sittings for a given region instead of wasting money on regional sittings? If they say they are taking Parliament nearer to the people, then what are the residents of Greater Kampala called? People or animals? You represent constituencies near the center. Do the people feel close at Parliament because you represent these constituencies? Dr. Serunkum, I'm coming to you in a minute. Let me just take this one more message. Someone says, the leader of opposition and his party are now confirming to the people of Northern Uganda that NUP is just a Central Uganda political party and they don't need Northern Uganda. No problem. We shall wait for Joel Senyonyi and his party when they come to Northern Uganda, seeking our votes in 2026. Dr. Serunkuma, what is your significant disagreement with having Parliament do those regional sittings? Is there no benefit at all, you think?
Charles, it's not the money for me. I think it's less the money for me. It's more the idea and the stated ambitions of this entire project, especially the idea of exhibiting Parliament and taking it closer to the people. The assumption is that many local people don't know how Parliament operates, so they want to take it to them so that they can see it and be awed and overwhelmed by the grandeur of these 500 people or 400 or 300 showing up in this place. The idea of producing civic subjects, political subjects, was a thing that schools used to do. So you develop people who have a sense of the way things are done, the way the discussions happen. It was done in school. So we, those who are born earlier, I'm sure the phone opponents and some Ibrahim Uganda have studied a thing called civics in school.
Don't put me together with the same Mujib.
He's
a yesteryear.
There was a thing called civics. I mean, in our time, there was a thing called political education. So political education, civics, gave us an idea, brought the performativity of Parliament to us in the classrooms, and debate was rife, was high, that we learned what Parliament used to do. So turning Parliament into the exhibition itself is a cheapening of this entire house that has happened over a period.
Why do you say that? What's the basis of your argument that this is cheapening Parliament?
And I think that's my second point, is that first, there's also, and the other problem is to think that the problems of Uganda are singular to a locality. So you need to go to that location to identify the problem. That the problems could be identified by you going to that place. And so you have a fact-finding mission, finding the exact problem of that place. Charles, in the condition that we are in as a country, our problems are not limited to regions. Our problems cut across.
Not all the problems cut across.
Our problems cut across. The actual diagnosis of our problems is that you can sufficiently discuss them in Parliament. Because what Parliament has done is that, as these MPs have agreed, for a very long period, they have a generation of researchers and fact-find committees. Parliamentarians have, I guess, they have research teams. And all these committees hire researchers who go and find the facts, where the facts are difficult to get, and then they bring them back to Parliament, and then they can be discussed. right? So the diagnosis that our problems are singular. For example, I've been here plenty of times, Charles, and I'm going to go back to this again. That, for example, people are poor because of the banking regimes in this country. You don't have to go to Gulu or to Fort Portal to know that once ordinary Ugandans are unable to raise capital to lift themselves out of poverty, that you need to go there. You can't tell me that if we have 11 million people who are involved in coffee farming, that we don't have Uganda Coffee Development Authority, that they can't give us the diagnosis that a huge section of our country are peasant farmers whose life thrives on coffee. And so we need to empower them, that we can't let the foreign exporter be in charge of this industry. Our problems cut across. You know, we have extortions, electricity bills, which are stifling businesses across the city, across the country, wherever people go. I asked one time, why don't we have, for example, on the point of banking, why do we have the same banking regime for a businessman in Kampala as opposed to government in Tororo, where Fonopondo comes from, where people in Kampala may be looking for, say, 100 million from a bank, and people in Tororo want 10 million or 1 million. Why do they operate in the same regime of banking? So these problems, if you start in Kampala, you can actually lift many Ugandans out of poverty. You can improve the condition.
But Yusuf, the argument many people will be raising, Parliament, since it was established,
practice doesn't guarantee.
Just a minute. Has been holding its sessions in Kampala.
Yes.
Has that made a difference?
Yeah,
and what is your argument
I'm not
against?
Charles, I'm also not arguing that because Parliament since Kampala has been a very performing unit, right? Sitting in Kampala,
so why do you think
Kampala better?
Is bad?
I mean, it is bad. You're not performing here, and neither are you going to be performing there. I'm saying in our political discourse, Charles, we spend a lot of time discussing format, discussing small things. Where should we sit? Under what form of political regime should we organize? Now we're going to spend a very long time, part of our lifetime, because we have small lifetimes, discussing regional sittings. We are discussing format. We haven't, please.
That's what we're doing here, discussing regional sitting. Why not allow Parliament to do their work?
The Parliament
what are we doing here anyway?
The Parliament that has sat in Kampala for a very long time has failed to diagnose the problem. You see, Charles, when you talk about wastefulness, these MPs, they have to understand that once you enter into Parliament, it's the bribe itself. That once you join politics into Parliament, it's the bribe itself. That then you are bribed, you're overwhelmed with money, so you are reduced not to discussing facts, but you discuss more things. What they have done inside this place at Parliament Avenue is not anywhere better. And the diagnosis that now, to improve what we've done at Parliament Avenue, is to go and have these sittings happen in those places, doesn't signal to any good. So I'm not arguing that they are better off in Kampala. Or maybe they are arguing that they are failing in Kampala, so they have to go and have these sittings where they have to be. I'm saying, while in Kampala they failed to diagnose the problem, sitting in the regions doesn't make it any better.
Why?
Because I've given you the diagnosis that they think that we suffer from. Just the problem in this country, we don't listen to our technocrats. We think that practice guarantees you knowledge, that once you go to Parliament and you're an MP, maybe you won an election, that thereafter you become the knower of things. So you can see how people despise knowledge acquired over a period of learning.
Charles,
I can see people seeking to respond.
It's always mind-boggling when you start.
These members of Parliament are taught by academicians like Sero Kuma. Now, if they come out of your universities empty, what does that? Doesn't that speak to the quality of the academicians that teach these people?
You're being
No, I'm not being diversionary, but he talks about cheapening. We in the NRM, particularly, we have something we say we would like to demystify government. We would like to demystify officialdom. We would like to demystify elements of the state. There was a time in this country when an MP, a minister, speaks and nobody asks a question. Today, the NRM has established a standard. You can fault us on any other thing, but the president will come to a public meeting, he will speak, and he expects to be asked questions, and he must answer them as polite as possible, and as honest as possible. He must endeavor to appear that he is knowledgeable on the things the people are concerned about. So I don't know whether Serukuma thinks that when we expose MPs, when we expose ministers, when we expose senior government officials to ordinary folks, to ask them questions, to rub shoulders with them, that is cheapening.
But Charles,
in the NRM, we don't
Charles,
think so.
No.
Have some discipline. No, have some discipline. No, have some discipline. In Serukuma, you spoke, I kept quiet. Allow me to speak. If you want us to heckle, we can heckle. So, for the NRM, we have established that baseline. I don't agree with you that taking parliament to the regions or to expose members of parliament to ordinary people who may not speak good English with a twisted tongue like yours is cheapening parliament or members of parliament. In any case, these members of parliament came from those people. And therefore, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with taking members of parliament as a group from different areas to one place. Hopefully, our hope is that they will learn something and they'll also transmit something to
Somebody
those communities.
called Twebaze on X says, a lot of merit. We understand that parliament is not the parliament of Kampala. It is the parliament of Uganda. It is even constitutional for the parliament to hold its meetings in any part of the country. More so, the money for these meetings is already accounted for, provided for. I think that's what he wanted to say.
Charles,
yes, Honorable
I
Nakot,
wanted
then
to
I'll come
tell
back to
you
Semuju
and the academician that the parliament moving to the regions is not a new thing. It's not a new, it might be new to you. It's not new in the whole world. Parliaments have been moving. We have the Senate of Kenya. Next month, in September, will be in Busia County. They had one sitting in Turkana County. They have been moving. We have the East African Legislative Assembly. They also move. We have the Pan-African parliaments. They move. Moving to take parliament to the people is not a bad thing. Because we have been struggling, as you are aware. Sometimes I see the adverts on TV when you are reminding Ugandans on the work of parliament. This is the role of your MP. The role of your MP is not to give you this, it is to give you this. Why not then take parliament to the people so that they can understand the role of their parliament? So it's not right to just oppose everything which you have not practiced. We had the People's Parliament by the Honorable Agnes Nandutu before she came to Parliament. The whole country celebrated People's Parliament. People owned it up. That was a People's Parliament which was just a part of it. It was TV, it was drama kind of. It was not a real parliament. Now when you have a real parliament coming to the people, these allies here are saying it's not a good thing. What kind of double standard?
Your colleagues here, Honorable Semuju, I've been trying to understand your argument against the movement of parliament outside of Kampala.
My argument is not necessarily against the movement of parliament. My argument is that when we are doing the budget, the issue of avoidable expenditure was part of our presentation responding to the budget. The trouble is that the tendency by the media and maybe many of us is to strip arguments of their context, and then you isolate parliament and debate it alone. Even so for Nopondo rushing, because for Nopondo there is nothing that parliament gets that you don't get. Whether it is a vehicle you get, whether it is fuel you get. So even you are not disqualified. You are disqualified when it comes to expenditure.
And I don't
pretend because you are a beneficiary of you are a beneficiary of all these things.
I disagree with you because you are pretending that you have to save our money.
For me, the argument, the argument, because this afternoon in Parliament, we were told that.
Excuse me, members. Let's listen to one person at a time.
We are told we will be marking the International Youth Day in Soroti. I think the beginning of my parliamentary career, we were told by the Minister of Gender at that time, it must have been this former DP, Sarah Chiinji, if I recollect. On average, the cost of hosting these international and national days is about 3 billion, sometimes even more. This nomadism is not necessarily about parliament. You will have almost every day celebrated in a district in Uganda, and you are spending. My argument is that we need to study this and begin making steps. Because as I said at the beginning, you're going to spend 750 billion on inland travel. And you're going to spend about 300 billion on buying fuel. The budget of parliament is not going to change because you're going to host parliament up country or not. The crime that parliament has committed is that when an opportunity came to reduce this expenditure, wasteful expenditure, parliament didn't do it. And OO was saying we've not raised these things. In our budget response, we have, year in, year out. We can cut this money if you read all our reports. Once you don't have systems, you see, countries don't work on volunteers. They work on the systems. If you ask people to volunteer today, one person will be good, tomorrow he will not. When Museveni was starting, 1986, there are things he despised, at least publicly. He said, I will buy furniture from Kawempe, I will do this and that. We made the country to rely on the goodwill of individuals. Systems don't rely on goodwill. I am only saying maybe this will be an eye-opener for us to go and deal with the money we spend on travel, with the money we spend. And then the second argument I made was that I don't think by sitting in parliament in Kaunda that you will be taking parliament to the people of northern Uganda. And I've told you already they are suffering because you are now shifting them because of security and other restrictions where...
But Honorable Semuju, there's a flip side to that. That if you take 700, 1,000 people to the region,
yes,
it certainly benefits the local economy. So a few people might be inconvenienced, accepted. I mean, not 800. 1,000 people to 1,000 people. Take them to Gulu for 3 days. That's about a week because you have a day of travel and a day of, 2 days of travel from Kampala to Gulu and the day you're returning. Number two,
you see, Charles, I don't want to lose that point you made. The Honorable Wafula told me at the time Mr. Museveni wanted to create a Sembabule district. He also wanted a Bugiri district. They went through the same argument that a district will bring services closer to people. When Wafula was in Parliament and we were discussing districts, he actually said instead of creating a district, just to go and construct a health facility. I'll tell you, if you look at the budget of local government, it's an argument I have made even before. You have 6 trillion for local government, about 5.3 trillion, 5.3 trillion salaries and other facilitation to people who work in the districts. What remains is less than a trillion to develop the district. So yes, you will have money going into hotels and maybe petrol stations, but the health facility is there because the other day when the president...
What difference do you make when you hold your sessions in Kampala as opposed to holding them in Kisoro?
Where we are now, even if Parliament doesn't travel to Gulu, even if Parliament doesn't travel to wherever, the budget of Parliament is already approved.
Yes. So what is the argument against the travel?
My argument is not necessarily about this particular travel. I am only saying this should help us to go back to the mistakes that we made as a country and as an institution. At the time when we are dealing with the budget, we should never have provided the money that is just hanging there. Money that you can wake up one day and say, let us go and spend. But you provided it.
The three of you sit in Parliament. Yes. You already provided them.
That's why I'm taking you back to the response that we made. All these things, the arguments that are coming now, are arguments that are contained in our response. We are only revisiting them because the argument of money has come up. So the going or not going, the budget of Parliament will remain the same. Should that budget have been what it is? We said no, it shouldn't, but our colleagues, the Nakutis, who are many and many of them are voting even what they don't know, but the president said that's okay as long as they vote NRM. They defeated us.
Was quick to comment about dressing, the budget of dressing, and could not notice the budget, this budget of Parliament. You did not talk about how come you noticed the budget of dressing.
Were you in Parliament when we are making a response?
I was there.
Maybe you were not attentive.
I was attentive. Honorable Semuju, there is no running away from responsibility.
Even then, Charles, yes. Members of the opposition in Parliament have said they actually don't know how much money is going to be spent in Gulu. So clearly, it implies to me that they have not read the budget of Parliament, at least for this financial year, or even this quarter. The release has come out. A serious member of Parliament ought to know the release of Parliament for this quarter, and
but there is was in the media.
What is the debate?
No, but publicly you have confessed that you don't know how much is going to be spent. This 5 billion, you are doing guesswork.
Yes. What is the debate? Honorable Kaya, and I'll come to you, Serunkuma, in a minute. The debate among Ugandans is one, are you debating, whether you sit in Kampala or sit elsewhere, are you debating on issues that concern them? People here have raised the question, do you have the moral high ground to raise the issues you're raising? We're just chatting during the break, and I was asking, people were circulating video footage and photographs of the leader of opposition accompanying his party president to Bundibujo district in his official vehicle from Parliament. Would that qualify among what you call wasteful expenditure? That money would have been put elsewhere. I mean, the broader issues. Do you feel that Parliament is doing what it is supposed to do while sitting in Kampala, and that going to Gulu would take it away from that?
And I also wanted to come in on that.
Yes.
That we are not saying that when we refute the regional meetings, then all regional visits should be closed up. And this is not all about the leader of opposition and the northern region. We don't want to set a precedence for the all the upcoming regional meetings. We do not. We are against all of them, but we are saying that there are mechanisms that are in place for us to get regional issues in Parliament, in Kampala. So if we have, it's as if they have failed. For people who interested us to bring their issues to Kampala, when we say probably, are we sure that when we take the sitting to Gulu, then all the northern region members of Parliament will be able to grab the mic and say something? That is why I am for the proposal to lay on the floor of Parliament the methodology for these regional meetings, and it is not good for us. None of us actually forms part of the parliamentary administration. So some of these salient mechanisms, approaches, and techniques of conducting such a meeting, we are not aware of them. That is why...
Your colleague on this same panel, the Honorable Faith Nakut from Napak, says she was invited to a meeting between the administration of Parliament and members of Parliament from the expanded northern region to discuss this regional sitting. So is it you're not being exposed or not being aware of what is being planned?
No, I don't form part of the northern region, so probably. Yes. But when they came just to do post-mortem of something that had already been decided.
Wasn't there a session organized for members of Parliament from Central Region?
No.
Because I understand the other place Parliament is supposed to meet is Masaka?
Masaka?
Yes.
And then Barara, probably Mbale, because there is a planned one for the eastern region.
I think
but what the innovation is also bringing to our attention is probably we need to decentralize Parliament further than what it is now. If we agree,
is it decentralized at the moment?
At the moment when we go for those regional meetings, it is as if we are telling the public that Parliament is not decentralized enough, and the people you send to Parliament cannot appropriately represent your issues in Kampala, so probably they need to first come back. So I agree with the people, the scholars who really say that this innovation is somehow to put Parliament somewhere down. But I also want to concur, I mean, I don't want to concur with my colleague here, that all along you have been wastefully spending. No, you can still save something till death does us apart. You should not stop attempting to sort out certain issues and to probably reduce wasteful expenditures and probably provide a solution. You should never stop coming up with solutions. But in the face of the public, it's as if we are running away from accountability. Because actually, the youth are like, oh, you have feared us. You fear that we are going to storm Parliament, and now you are taking it to other regions. So,
are there no youth in those regions?
that is what we are worried. Is the security okay for us to go that other side? So, I would still request that the youth as well prepare themselves to meet us, because we are saying we are taking Parliament to them. So if they are to bring petitions, let's see Northern Region youth issues on corruption. But for sure, we needed to debate and agree on the methodology for all of us to appreciate the initiative. Otherwise, at the moment, I think we are scratching our heads to bring in issues of regional assemblies and national assemblies, and then also putting low the line committees that have been moving up and down, and bringing our reports back. And so, if somebody from Central is going to the region and only have 3 days, am I assured of, for example, speaking about some issues as a member of Parliament from the Central? If that is going to be the case, when will all the Northern Region members get chance to grab the mic, especially when we are there? So, you know, there are a lot of speculations. And so we needed to agree on the mechanism, plan it appropriately, especially on or at the start of the
session
of the Parliament or of the session. Otherwise, the innovation started as a rumor. We thought it is a dream, but we see that even the dates are getting confirmed with some of the regions, and. Probably my dad, he doesn't want to be called the Muzukuru. So we need to save something. We should not rest our case.
Will you travel or will you not travel?
No, at the moment, I am not traveling.
Boycotting.
Yeah, we are boycotting. We don't want.
And it's not their first time to boycott a
Let me take a message, and Yusuf, I'm coming to you. Let me take a message from one of the most ardent viewers of this show, BMK Gift Senior. He is ordinarily from Nansana, but currently at Kokila Ben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital in Mumbai, India. He has a medical challenge, which he did treat before, but it has kind of recurred, so he's been readmitted, but he continues to follow the show ardently, and says, the two of you, the ladies on the show, used to be, you were his heroines for the month of July. But now you rank on the opposite side of his pendulum for the month of August. He has his reasons. Gift, we wish you quick recovery where you are in India, but we're glad that you're still following the front line from them. He says, this deception of taking Parliament nearer to the people is the equivalent of creating new districts by combining small villages by OO's government, to bring services nearer to the people. It's just nothing but wasteful and misallocation of scarce resources. Says the leadership of Parliament should force the MPs into recess, and then Parliament donates that money to cater for the interns, and trust me, the country would be happy. Honorable Faith Nakut was my heroine for the month of July 2024. And as I talk now, she is on my list of worst MPs for the month of August 2024. BMK gift national. Okay, Yusuf, let me come to you just after this break.
NBS Frontline.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Serunkuma, Mr. Serunkuma, Honorable Nakut and we're back on air. Ken Mutenyo is from the Democratic Party. He says, as a member of an opposition party, I am disappointed by what some of our MPs focus on. Even here in Kampala, many of them miss parliamentary sittings. This is the Parliament of Uganda. What benefits have come from the numerous boycotts they have had? They even respond to State of the Nation, which they allegedly boycotted. It has been stated that this is a term, that in this term the NRM, this is the term the NRM has enjoyed because of our people. What is funny is that the same MPs opposed to regional sittings approved budget to hold the same sittings. Lightly remind Honorable Semoju that Sarah Chiinji, the youth minister, has never been DP. It's Florence Natuala Chiinji who was DP.
Yeah,
yes, he's taken note of that. Thank you. Yusuf, let me come back to you. Parliament has a ton of issues.
I mean, when you came to your phone, it was already snickering. I don't know what you meant by that.
Parliament has had a ton of issues, especially recently. Now it's trying to get itself closer to the people. Engage. Even when it sits in Kampala, it invites people to sit in the gallery and watch sessions that are going on. I have seen droves of school children, local councillors, invited by their MPs from whichever part of the country to come and attend sittings. Do you think that by taking this to Gulu wouldn't give Gulu an opportunity? And we're focusing on Gulu because that's where they're supposed to begin from, but they're supposed to move across the country. Give the people of Gulu an opportunity to get closer to members of parliament they never interact with, maybe bump into them somewhere.
We need to start by breaking down what it means to take parliament closer to the people. It means empowering the ordinary citizen. It means raising a politically active subject. I think that's the entire idea. Take parliament to the people.
Subjects or citizens?
Well, whichever you want to call it. So that's the entire idea. Take parliament to the people. Let them be politically active and aware of the ways in which things are done. Exactly. Now, the irony of it is that under this same government, they can't allow political parties to take politics to the people. Some of you here will tell you, and I think the Honourable will tell you also, they can't be allowed to mobilize in those places. They can't be allowed to open a small regional headquarter. Now, the same people are turning around to say we need to take politics to the people. If you can't allow...
Just a minute. We saw not long ago the Forum for Democratic Change hold a massive event in the Bugisu sub-region. We have seen both factions of the FDC, Katonga and Najana Nkumbi, travel across the country. Are you saying they can't be allowed?
No, Charles, there are many ironies I want to point out. One of the ironies is that one, that you also know that on a scale of 10, you know, that has happened like once or twice. Most of the time, political parties are not allowed to mobilize. They're not allowed to open offices, open memberships. They can't do that. So if you're raising political active subjects, but you can't allow the political parties to go mobilize them, it's very ironical. The other irony is, you know, the points I wanted to make at the very beginning. This government removed civics, removed political education from schools. The president that this man serves has a big problem with the teaching of history. The subjects that raised politically active subjects. This government banned Ebimeza, things that raised political active subjects. This government killed Bulungi Bwansi, things where citizens participated and were made aware and deliberated. This government killed cooperatives, which were democratic and organic. And now they're turning around telling us they're taking parliament with the people. It boggles the mind that you're doing these organic things where you don't even have to spend money from the budget. You kill those, and then you create those where you can spend. Now, the second irony is it's a piece that I will always go back to, because I think Robert Sermaga nailed it on the head when he said, Parliament is the bribe. And often, evidence in our time comes up. Robert Sermaga was talking about the colonial time where Andrew Cohen realized that the noisemakers who were likely to cause revolution just grab them, enter them into the legico, overwhelm them with packs, and they'll be quiet. And in our time, I mean, Museveni has carried on with the same model, but in our time, evidence throws itself into your face. Some of you just said that, you know, the mistake they made is that they have a budget which is so big, but without things to do. So somebody sits back and says, maybe we need to start this activity. Maybe we need to spend it this way. So you have a parliament which has a humongous budget without activities attached to it. So they spend copious amounts of their time thinking, how should we eat this money? Clearly, that's bribing parliament. You bribe the House before people go into it by dangling money over the heads of those who are going to come in. So at the end of the day, you have them saying, you see, and the owner Ria from Prague is saying, the money is already approved. We do this all the time. It's in the law. Because the law is the bribe. You have money, which is approved legally, but it's dangling over their heads without things to do. And the final point I want to stop on this in this segment, the final point I'll make is this.
I disagree.
I spent a bit of time trying to develop the point that our problems are not being diagnosed well. Currently, we're dealing with a corruption crisis. At least it's been there for a very long time, but at least we've spotlighted corruption as a big problem in this country. If you say, what are the other problems this country faces? I will not spend so much time on corruption. We've spotlighted it, and I think the Honourable was right to say that perhaps, you know, they're trying to escape Kampala and take Parliament elsewhere. But what are our problems, Charles? People are poor, and poverty is a national condition. There's huge unemployment in this country. Our health care is on its deathbed if it did die a long time ago. If you're thinking, clearly thinking, you diagnose our problems really well. How do you get people out of poverty? We have, I mean, like potholes everywhere. Everything is in crumbles. The diagnosis for this is general pictures. These general pictures are not local. Taxation, electricity, banking, education, public health. These are the general problems everybody feels. There's consensus, at least, that the unemployment crisis in this country is huge. So the response is not Parliament saying we're now going to sit in your areas so that we listen to you. Because our problems are so well known, Charles. We know our problems. We know you can't solve unemployment by just going to Parliament, going to sit there. We know you can't, the extortionist taxes we have in this country, the solution is not going there. The corruption we are dealing with, the solution is not taking Parliament to the people. We can deal with this straight in Kampala. We can change course right in Kampala. You don't have to.
So why haven't we changed?
Because the system is designed to bribe all of you.
No.
That you're already in it, and now you are within the huge bribe.
For you, you can't be bribed. So why don't you change it?
Because the bribe is in the structure. The bribe is in the structure that once you go into it, now, you see what we're discussing now is how are they negotiating and spending this big bribe. You see, but we're not using the language that there's a big bribe which was thrown to Parliament, and they don't know what to do with it. So they have to come up with activities, how to spend it, and eat some of it. Just there was a small point you said
the records must
that when people go to say Northern Uganda,
Parliament sessions allow information. So
yeah, the record must be
or clarification.
Straight. Parliamentary Commission submits its budget. The budget is reviewed by the Committee of Legal of Parliament. It has members of Parliament, many of them. Over 30 members. They review it. So to say that there is a lump sum money which does nothing, I disagree with you.
He said it.
I disagree with you.
I didn't say only in the terms that you are stating. I say the moment you pass that money, in our response we identified about 5 trillion. You will pass money for inland travel. You will pass money for fuel. It is in the budget. But because inland travel is an expenditure you can avoid. You can travel committees around the country, but you can also travel the Parliament itself. So not that that money is not attached to activities. But in our response to the budget was that those activities are avoidable.
Okay. Someone says, what do Ugandans expect from those regional meetings? It's as broad a question as possibly can be thrown around. Julius is watching us and says, my issue and question is, how long can Parliament go? Regional sittings are the latest innovation beyond thieving and selfish conduct. I am honestly beginning to think that the leadership of Uganda, yes, he believes that there's some spirits possessing some leaders.
But Charles,
yes?
Charles,
is he going to lecture us throughout? And
it appears
you have surrendered your moderation.
I don't know,
to him.
maybe he was your lecturer and so you are continuing your classroom here.
Yes, otherwise, surely your moderation is poor.
Mike is watching us and says, Parliament being in Kampala are well represented. There are potholes even around parliamentary buildings. How does hosting Parliament in Mbarara help people of Masindi on Toroko? No connection at all. Maybe you call it district sitting, but not regional. Yes.
It is true. Uganda has many problems. But for a philosopher of Serunkuma not to distinguish between a subject and a citizen speaks volume of what he learned. Because clearly then he doesn't understand what a subject is and what a citizen is.
In Uganda we are subjects.
Now, at least I'm not a subject.
No, you don't know.
Citizen. Now, there are problems that are engendered by success. If you have complete illiterates, they will not ask you for formal jobs. They will be content. They will be contented with hunting and gathering. They'll be contented with Juakan. But when you have people who have formal education, either in literature, like my brother, the poet, they'll ask you for more schools so that they can show their poetry and prose. If you have technicians and engineers, they'll ask you for farms so that they are able to construct bridges. If you have medical people, they will ask you for hospitals to go and work. And so there's success which engenders new challenges. We call them, you can call them problems, but for us we call them challenges. So surely what Uganda is going through today is a combination of challenges engendered by the success the country has registered. When you have the economy rising, people are building better houses, people are buying vehicles, then they will see the potholes. But people who are walking on foot, riding bicycles, may not see the gravity of the potholes like the ones who are driving cars, the Serunkumas. When you have a good house, you need a fridge, you need a cooker in it, so you will need either gas or you will need a reliable, sustainable, affordable electricity. And so for the NRM, we are not shy to admit that our accomplishments as a political organization has engendered new challenges to which we must rise and solve. And so we are not pessimists.
How are you so
we don't share your pessimism. We don't share your pessimism. For example, today, when I was in the university, we used to brag that we were the only ones in the university that was south of the Sahara and north of the Limpopo. And when we walked down Wandegia, everybody would know a Makererian. Today, you have 30 universities. So the graduations is, I think when I was graduating, I was the only one in my sub-county. So holding a graduation party in Kampala and then in Muranda made sense. I never applied for a job I was picked from Makerere. So the success of NRM has engendered new challenges. And NRM is saying, together with other Ugandans and other partners, we are continuing to try to find solutions for the new challenges the country is having, but also deal with...
Are you calling that a success? Some people
yes,
say
no, we say success. For example, once we have educated the number of children now we have, these ones who are now in parliament, yes, we must now meet their demand.
Yes.
They are no longer people. They are no longer people who are just asking for enough food.
So failure to meet their demands is
not failure. We have not failed because these people are now able to support NRM to solve some of the problems or some of the challenges. And yes, there are some areas will have traditional problems, which NRM probably has not touched at all. And we admit that there are traditional problems which we haven't touched at all.
Let me throw a broad question to the members of parliament first and then the other panelists. Honorable Kaya, what do you see as the problem? Because parliament has refused to get out of the news for the good and the bad reasons.
Yeah, what we envisage as members of parliament, and on behalf of my party, we need to evaluate ourselves in the faces of those who sent us to parliament. And at the same time, there are certain things that we need to do for our interests as members of parliament. And at the same time, there are some certain things that we need to inform our public that much as you need this, but this is right. But when you look at this innovation and you inquire from the people you represent, many of them are like, no, that is not the problem we have right now. Now, as a member of parliament who has always been there to represent the interests of your people, it could be abnormal for you to defend 100%. And what my colleague has also been bringing out is that the calling successes that have brought in challenges, that is why we say leadership must go with generations, such that when the regime gets now more challenges from what they call the successes, that is where they're supposed to break off, and then new regimes come in to attend to the current or recurrent issues. Otherwise, balancing the 1980 demands with the 2024 demands is becoming a challenge, and that is why they also agree that it is becoming a challenge for them to resolve these issues. Okay. But in the face of our people, the people we represent, we are actually seen we are seen negatively as far as conducting regional meetings are concerned.
Thank you. Kelly Wanda, Ronald Mivule, many others. I have Siraji Chigozi and many others. I've seen your messages. I may not be able to take them now, but and we're continuing this conversation on Afro Mobile. Honorable.
NBS Frontline.